Hey guys, hey, this is Bobby Davis from the tech capital of the world, Kernersville, North Carolina. I'm here with joined by my producer Kevin Doyle. Say hello to the world, Kevin.
Hello, world.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
This is a big week for Coder Foundry. Did you know that acceptance letters go out this week?
I saw that. Yeah. It's okay.
And so I know that there's some people on the channel, Glenn and Beth, that got in. So, but I didn't want to. We've known for a while. We just didn't want to tell them until they got their letter.
Right.
So anyway,
well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Congrats for getting in. We'll see you July 6th. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So let's see who's here today.
Let's see. Let's see who we have. MSV's here, or was here at like 10:02. I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know if it's still here. But
Okay.
Lawson's here, who's a current student. Hey, Lawson.
Yeah.
Glenn is here. Congratulations, Glenn. And yes, look, you got a little dancing. He's here.
Yeah.
So that's
here you
awesome.
go.
Our awesome moderator, Adam, is here. Hey, Adam.
Books.
And thanks for being a mod. I super appreciate it on both here and on Discord too.
Yeah. Cool.
Beth's here.
Nightbot here.
Let's see. Nightbot's here. Nightbot's definitely here. Nightbot's in full effect.
He's already after MSV. So.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Let's see. From the shadow of the tech capital. Oh, from the shadow of the tech capital. I love it. You guys only have like Red Hat and like all these other like giant companies.
Epic Games, Fortnite.
Epic Games, Fortnite, yeah. But Kernersville's, we got Coder Foundry. So
Coder Foundry, man.
We're trying. And
two
David's here. 2 McDonald's. I think we have more, don't we? We have two. It might even be three.
Three now. We have 3 McDonald's in Kernersville.
That's pretty funny.
It's kind of funny, isn't it?
That is. That's
you have 3 Starbucks too. 3.
It's not enough. We need more.
1 at a grocery store and 1 like outside.
And we need more because there's always a line after one.
I know. 3 Starbucks. Okay, Bill.
Estevan's here. Hey, Estevan. Hope you're psyched because there's something.
We have a huge announcement coming. We really do. So we can't announce it yet because our pre-production call is on Wednesday, and so like once we get that out, we'll be able to announce what's coming. And it's a huge announcement for the channel. I think it's.
We're hoping it's something we can do next week. That's what we're gonna. That's what we're gonna say.
Next week.
We're gonna do it next week.
We just got to get. I don't want to jinx it by announcing it before it's actually solid, but like I think we'll get it done. So it's gonna be cool.
Yep. Wilfredo's here. Rafinko's here. Brian's here. Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian's mom.
Hey, Brian's mom.
Damien's here too. Hey, Damien. If you guys join the Discord channel, by the way, Damien always says hey to you guys. So go say hey to Damien.
Yeah.
And thanks for doing that, by the way, Damien, too. I appreciate it. Yes, there is still a war between MSV. Despite MSV changing his name from Caps, still, for some reason, I don't know what you're doing to it.
I don't know, man. Nightbot doesn't like you.
That's pretty funny. I like it. So welcome, everybody. We appreciate you joining us, as always.
Yeah, cool.
So what are we talking about today?
Let's say hello to one of my friends here.
Okay.
Brian Quinn.
Oh, okay. Oh, I missed Brian there. Yeah.
It's okay. He is in the class. I think if it's the same Brian Quinn. So
I believe it is.
He's on my interview list. So he's one of the students that I'm in.
Oh, when? Today?
On a weekly basis.
Okay.
Teach him how to get a job. So
okay, awesome.
Smart dude. Really smart.
Very cool. Very cool.
So cool. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about I guess we're framing it around imposter syndrome, really.
Okay.
That's sort of a big topic. And people like when do you consider yourself a developer? Or do you ever consider yourself a developer?
Right.
And how do you frame that? What do you
later on the show, I'm going to give you three things I think that can help you beat imposter syndrome.
Okay.
And so like I think that if you stick around for that, we can talk to you about 3 things that you want to do. But I think we have a guest today too, right?
We do. We do have a guest today. Who are we talking to?
Jonathan. And Jonathan is someone we've known recently who has written a book called Focused, and it's on 401ks. And you would think, why do we care about 401ks?
Well, I care about 401ks.
Oh, we all do. Yeah. especially when the stock market tanks,
Yes.
we care about 401ks. But that's really what we're not really talking about. But he wrote a book called Focused, and it's a tool to help individuals kind of learn the basics of financial freedom. But that's not why we brought him on.
That's not.
No,
we can talk about something else.
Yeah. So when we talked to Jonathan built his own websites to promote his book, and he's not a coder. And so we're going to talk to him about that journey of how do you become when you're not a coder? What did you do?
What do you do?
So let's bring Jonathan on. So
okay, here we go.
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm good.
All right, cool. So you're welcome to the show and welcome for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We got this cool photo of you. Look at this photo, Kevin.
We do. Hold on, let me pull this up here.
So you built your book, and not only did you release your book, you're at NASDAQ, and that's Times Square, right?
Yep, it is.
And your picture's on Times Square, so you're kind of a big deal, right?
I only in my own mind, right?
Okay, you should have charged for this appearance, is what we're telling you.
The bill's coming. Yeah, for sure.
I can say we didn't agree not to pay, so now we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait to send you a bill till after the show.
Right, exactly.
That is a cool picture. One day, I mean,
he says he looks like a real businessman. So, so
when you show up, you got to show up right when you're doing
Absolutely.
you're doing NASDAQ and you've been on the billboard. You got to do it right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us just real quickly what is Focused about? What's the book about? I didn't explain it too well, but what's it about?
So Focused is actually my second book, and Focused was written for individuals to really give them. It's a 7-step process and a formula. Right. Okay. So the name of the book is Focus, the Financial Freedom Formula. And so I created a formula that anybody can follow to create financial freedom. And then there's 7 steps that they can follow. And so the book really goes through the formula and the 7 steps for basically how to manage your personal finances.
Okay, that's kind of cool. So let's talk about the cooler part of this for us. So you built a book and you needed a website. So tell us what happened, what went through your mind when you realized you needed a website?
So what went through my mind was, how do you build a website, right? And I had no clue. Obviously, looking at this, I had a little bit of kind of playing around with websites because we built a website for our firm, Gate City Advisors. And so when we built that website, it was one of these plug and play templates, right?
Right.
You couldn't see the code. It was like a little place here. You put in a picture, you put in some words, and it pops up on a screen, right? Mm-hmm. And I can remember being totally intimidated by that website, going, how in the world am I ever going to manage a website? To within 6 months, I'm trying to figure out how to embed YouTube code and how to do these things and turn blogs into video blogs. And next thing you know, it's I thought, well, wait a second, if I can do that, then I can probably completely build my own website from scratch.
Okay. So why did you want to build your own website? Why didn't you just get someone to do it?
I guess I get excited about building stuff, and I get excited about learning stuff and being able to say, hey, look, I did this.
Okay.
And the other thing is I started learning, my whole idea is how can I have this book? How can I, give the book away and make different offers with the book and get people to download the book? And so I started learning how to use other forms software, like Jot forms and Lead Pages and all these things to really create marketing funnels. So my idea was all about, how do I turn this into a marketing opportunity?
Right.
And so what I would do is I would just spend hours. I would Google something. How do you make an offer pop up? Right, and it would say use this code to make it pop up. And I didn't know what the code was. I just copied and pasted it, and it worked.
Okay.
So it was trial and error, and every time it worked, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm figuring something out.
Okay.
So.
Cool. And so you built a couple of websites, right? Is that what you did?
So I started, with our Gate City Advisors website, which is just basic. And then I built another website for my 401k practice called We Fix 401ks. And then the Focus Book website was completely on my own, just from GoDaddy. I went to GoDaddy and I started looking for URLs, and it's like I told you guys, the focusedbook.com was already taken. So I went with thefocusedbook.com, which was available.
Okay.
And I chose a template out of there, and then I just started adding stuff to it and building onto it and making different pages and forms pop up and different things like that.
Okay, cool. So
I love the method that you used to figure something out. It was like, oh, I've seen this before, or I know it can do this, like, and I just like, I gotta look that up, and then I'm like, I used the tools that I had, and I did that thing.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that was what really got me is like I seen other people's websites do these things, but then when I talked to people, they couldn't really. Nobody really told me how to make that work, or nobody said I can do it. Hire me. And so I was like, I know if these other people can do it, there's got to be a way to do it.
Right.
And then I started, I got smart enough to know up in the top when you see the little image that pops up, where the name of the website is. And I started realizing, wait a second, what is that image? And then I'd figure out what that was. And I go, that's the software they're using to do it. So then I went out and bought the software.
Okay. So you figured out what a fave icon was.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah, whatever that is. I figured that out.
There you go. Here you go. Adam says it. Adam gets it right. I just copied and pasted and it worked. Sounds like development to me. It is a chunk of being a developer is just reusing something and making it work.
So
totally.
In our pre-production meeting, you came up with like a business model around websites. Do you remember what you said about that? I'll remind you if you don't. But like if someone would have done X, you would have put them onto that or something like that. Yeah. About lead conversions.
Oh, I can't remember exactly. I vaguely remember having the conversation, but essentially, if somebody would have come to me, it's like I said, when I was looking for those things and said, here's how I can build a website and, to generate leads and have lead conversion. And I knew that going in, I totally would have hired them to build my own website. But I think it goes back to like what we said just a minute ago is I couldn't find anybody who could build what I wanted. Right. So it was like, I'm just going to figure out how to build it myself.
Right.
And see, that's crazy.
Yeah. So like, I want to give a lot of hope out there for a lot of people that are coming in and Coder Foundry, out of Coder Foundry, or you're just sitting here on the channel. A lot of times you look at these teachers and you figure out like, oh, I can't be them, therefore I won't even try. When there's people like Jonathan out there, I just need a website, man. Like I don't need you to like, build any kind of like algorithms or like do anything. I need some websites built, and that's sometimes the front end job, sometimes the back end job. I know that the Coder Foundry website's built with a CMS and, there's some coding involved in it, but not a whole lot. So I think that's kind of cool. It's very admirable.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, this is not my day job, right? Yeah, exactly. My day job is being a financial advisor, right? So it's like, how can I, learn these things on the side? And you're right. I spend a lot of evenings just, Googling stuff and testing things and trying it out. And I would find it on somebody else's website and go, man, how do they do that?
Right. Looked like magic. So that's
it looked awesome, things popping up everywhere. And I'm like, man, that's cool.
Yeah. And so you're using lead pages. Did you use WordPress or what were you doing?
I used WordPress is basically the website. So WordPress, I don't know much more than that. And then I would go and figure out how to, you click the button and it switches over to the HTML side or whatever. And then I would go to lead pages and build the funnel that I wanted or the form or the pop-up. And then I would just take it and put it on my website.
Okay, cool.
And then I would put the buttons, like I learned how to do buttons, and I'd go over to, here's the other thing, like I would go to WordPress and I was like, this template only had so many options on the side. So I was like, how do you make more options? And I Googled, and oh, there's a plugin for WordPress that you can change the buttons on the side. So then I would go and I would get that plugin, and then I would take my code and put it into that little plugin thing. And those are technical terms.
It is. Even now, know what. Even now, you know what it took to get to where you got to.
Yeah.
And you realize that some things aren't necessarily as difficult as they seemed.
Oh, yeah.
Some things are, some things aren't.
I feel completely confident now.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but you would say, even what you know now, though, you would say that you would still hire somebody originally?
Because when I look at that, it's more of a time thing. Right.
Okay.
For me. And it's like, I go and I play with it, but that's not my everyday job. But if somebody were here and they said, hey, we can make this convert better, we can do these things. I'm still fascinated by like the Facebook tracking pixels and, all these kinds of things. And I know how to put that on my website now.
Okay.
And I learned that from trial and error, and it took a lot of time. I didn't go to a class. I didn't join something. I mean, I literally Googled trial and error everything and made it work. So I probably could have saved myself a lot of learning curve. If I would have took a class, or if I'd have done something, or if I'd have hired somebody to do it.
Right. But you wouldn't have learned anything that necessarily.
I wouldn't have learned it. And like I said, I'm not going to go into the website making business, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like if I see something on somebody else's website now, I have enough knowledge where I can figure out how they did it and put it on my website.
Okay. That's kind of cool. I like it.
That's very cool. I like it too. It's very cool.
What I like, Jonathan, and what I think you can encourage a lot of people is you didn't let your what you didn't know stop you. A lot of people will stop. Right. I don't know how to do that, and they'll just stop dead in their tracks. It's the same thing I would imagine with financial freedom. A lot of people say, I don't understand that, therefore I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't want to know. So
it's human nature is, most people are intimidated by their personal finances. I know that because, that's my business, but I would imagine there's a lot of people who are intimidated by, I don't know how to write code. I don't know how to do this.
Right.
And, there's times when I actually, I hit a brick wall, and like some of the software that I was using, I would just submit a help ticket and go, I can't make this thing. It's like messing up the page. And there was a term they called it breaking the code or something.
Right. Yeah.
And stuff would go everywhere. And I was like, why is it doing that? And apparently I was missing a question mark somewhere.
Right, exactly.
What is a question mark?
Right bracket. Yeah. Right bracket. Or
yeah. But anyway, they're like, put this question mark on line 33. And I'm like, what? Okay. And then it worked. So
yeah. Okay. That's kind of cool. So like we, here a lot for us, which is kind of funny that you're in there, you're trying to figure it out. And this is why we brought you on, because I have a lot of people inside the school that have built like their personal website from scratch. They built their blog from scratch. They built a database driven bug tracker, and they built a financial portal, all these things with database access, all these things. And they'll come to me and say, I'm not ready for a job. I'm like, how can you possibly say that? Like, I'm just like, and they won't even interview. They won't even try.
Wow.
And so like, I think that's where imposter syndrome really, really kind of like cripples you from doing stuff, and I just think it's impressive that you just kind of jumped in with both feet, and that's kind of cool. And I think everyone else that's listening needs to take that cue from you to just kind of jump in and start learning it.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I looked at it as, I don't have anything to lose.
Right.
I was having fun trying to learn things. And I figured if I can't figure it out, ultimately I can find somebody. But
right.
Yeah, it seemed just a lot easier than I really expected. Completely.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we got a couple of questions. We got any questions in here, Kevin, from the crowd here? Brian in here, he just made a website last week, and he like 40% was good.
Only 40. That's a low percent, Brian. I mean, that's 60% your own work. That's like
that's impressive.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, and Adam's along the same lines. Google trial and error still sounds like development.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. Let's see here. Here you go. So Estevan says he loves it when non-coders jump in the developer realm. It's great seeing that spark of curiosity and exploration. Glad to hear you enjoyed it. That's another thing too we talk about. People just enjoying finding out that stuff too. That says something that you can be a developer. You have to sort of enjoy finding the answer. If you don't, it's going to be a terrible job for you.
Yeah, I used to tell a lot of people coming in a Coder Foundry, and I ask them, do you like to jog? And they're like, no. I'm like, you're going to be good. Because like, if you like to exercise, coding's probably not for you. So like the amount of time you spend doing it is kind of crazy.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like trying to get colors to match and things like that. And so I started putting things on my Chrome extensions where, I can just hover over an image and it tells me what the color code is.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is I am colorblind, and it's awful. So I struggle matching things. And when I found this little colored code decoder tool, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Nobody can stop me now. It's like, I can make all these colors match. And so, I mean, if it weren't for that, I mean, I'd have like 3 different colors of blue on the buttons, you know? So I would go and make sure that each button is exactly the same color by knowing exactly what the color code on it is. So that stuff, I mean, it interests me. And when you think about, you know, I look at being colorblind as being, that's a disadvantage, but man, I can use a tool that tells me exactly what the color is, and I can make sure that it completely matches. So that's what excites me. I feel like I'm hacking something, and you know,
that's awesome. That's what it is. That's what it is. There you go. Beth said her first WordPress site was 100% trial and error. I think everybody's first WordPress site always is. Yeah. She felt like such a poser, but it works.
So I'm gonna blow your mind right now, Jonathan. I'm gonna introduce you to Adobe Color. So like this is the thing that you're gonna learn right now. So you can go there and log on, but like you can pick complementary colors here, and I can just pick any color that I want, and it's gonna give me the matches, the stuff that looks good with it.
That's cool.
And if you use every color within these palettes, they'll generally work together.
They'll generally work together. So like you can see, here's my main color here, and then this would be like what we'd call a contrast color maybe, and then some other like complementary colors. So like if you had like a dark color over here, this would go well together. And if you use that as a highlight, or you can use this as a highlight, any of these colors. And it works on the color wheel when you move this around.
And it's a free web-based tool too.
Yeah, is it really? It's free.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down. What'd you say that was again?
It's called Adobe Color, and you can just put your color in here. So like you can put in, I don't know the Coder Foundry orange.
FF993B.
FF993B. I'm glad you know that.
Coder Foundry orange. Trust me, I use it a lot.
So watch what happens here. And this is, I don't know what it's going to come up with. So we have some blues and whatever. We've actually enhanced ours. We like a darker smoky blue that goes with it. But you can see now we have our Coder Foundry orange here in the middle, and these blues over here would be complementary to that, and it would look good together. But you can also do a lot of things like shades, and then you could come up with a brown that kind of goes with the shade of this, and you can also do triad, which is kind of cool. But
it's all based on the color wheel. Yeah,
and if you stay in the color wheel, your colors will always look good forever. Anyway,
that's a brilliant hack. I need that for my next website.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's my free advice there. So you know.
All right.
I use color wheel all the time.
I'll take that off the bill that I send you, right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, we use color wheel. I'll use it all the time. There's a lot of them out there though, so that's kind of cool.
There are definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. With we got something here from Beth here. She said her first WordPress site was 100%.
Oh, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I already put that one up.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. You were going on the color wheel.
I was on the color wheel. Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
But yes, I think that's the same for everybody with their first WordPress site. Everybody like sort of hacks their first one together to figure it out, and then realize, like just like you did, Jonathan, that they're like, hey, the toolbar, like how does that work? How do I put there's this right hand column, like what if I want to put extra stuff in there? And you find plugins, and away you go.
Of course, the guy knows the hex code. Coder Foundry orange.
I use it too often, Adam.
Yeah, so that's our orange. It's kind of cool. All right. All right. Let's see. Anybody else on? Any other questions here?
I don't think I have any other questions. I put your website up here.
Okay. Thefocusedbook.com. So if they want to learn about 401k and the formula, tell us a little bit about the formula.
So the formula is really simple. It's e to the x I to the x minus e to the x equals f. And so when you think about that, it is your income minus your expenses equals financial freedom. And the X, which is the multiples of things that you can do to either increase your income or reduce your expenses. And so the formula is super simple, is how much money do you have left over at the end of the month?
Okay.
And the more money you have left over, obviously the more financial freedom you have. And that holds true whether you make $20,000 a year or $20 million a year. You look at those things and you think, how can I increase my income? And here's a great thing for what you guys do And I tell people, have a side hustle is one of the big things I talk about, right? And so what if coding were your side hustle? So if you could increase your income, but you keep your expenses the same, then you can create more financial freedom.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a formula that works for individuals or for entrepreneurs. It says, what can I do to increase my income or reduce my expenses? And a lot of times what's more valuable than, reducing your expenses is increasing your income. And everybody talks about, I'm going to save, a few dollars here and a few dollars there. But if you could increase your income, by $500 a month from learning to code, is way more advantageous than cutting out a morning cup of coffee. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's really how the formula works. And then, the 7-step process, it kind of goes through, how do you create a budget? How do you eliminate debt? How do you, improve your credit score? And you really start going through these things. And the 7th step is creating the side hustle. And I think that's really where the value is how can I grow my income? Because, nobody cuts their way to wealth, right? You don't cut your way into wealth. You have to grow your way into wealth. And I think that fits in a lot with what you guys do is, how can you show somebody, how can I make more money? Right. And as long as you don't say, how do I make more money? Now I got to go buy, spend more money on a big screen TV or spend more money on a car. How can you increase your income, but keep your expenses the same? Then the formula works that way too, where you can create more financial freedom that way.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. I didn't really think about the connection there about, thinking about learning to code as a side hustle. I think I could put that in the book now.
I think it's my,
go for it.
I think coding is my main hustle and my side hustle.
You just do it in different ways.
For some reason, I'm still coding on Saturday. I don't know why, but I'm still doing it. So I was here Saturday working on some stuff. So well,
that just says you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
That's it. Adam has a question for you, Jonathan, before you jump out of here. He says, since having a background in finance involves understanding a lot of math, do you think that helped or hurt your understanding of code?
I think that made me feel comfortable. Because numbers, everything to me is numbers, right? I get numbers, I eat, sleep, and breathe numbers, but I don't feel like once I got into it that numbers really had a lot to do with it. Because for me, it was just looking and going, oh, I don't even know what that code means. I just know that if I put it in there, it's going to work. So
you didn't go deep enough into it. That's why. If you go a whole other level, you'll find there's a whole other level of numbers and logic.
And I get the logic of understanding, okay, if this happens, then, this happens and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I don't think I went that deep. And I didn't feel like I needed to go that deep because, there were so many other tools that I could use that would create these things for me that was just plug and play.
Right.
So I would definitely say, liking numbers really made me feel like, hey, I can figure this out.
Right.
But it's like anything, and it's funny. I quote my kids. I say this to my kids: is that the purpose of school is that you learn how to learn. Right. It's not that you actually learn how to do these things; it's that you learn how to learn other things.
Right.
And so, to me, I think to be on a path of growing personally and professionally, it's like I can figure this out.
Yeah.
And I think coming to that grips of saying, I'm going to figure this out because, I know how to learn and I know how to teach myself. Right.
Right.
And so I think that made me feel comfortable as going, once you learn just a little bit, then now when I go to people's websites and I see little chat bots pop up and I go, I wonder what tool are they using to make that?
Yeah. I wonder how to make that happen. Yeah.
And I see things like I X off the page and I get this thing that pops up and goes, hey, before you leave, here's the software. And I go, hey, I know how to do that now. I know how to make these things pop up. I don't know how to write the code to do it, but I know I've bought the tool that can write the code. So I think it's all about learning to learn. And the same thing with your finances. You just, learn tools and tricks for hacking your finances. The same thing with websites and same thing with about anything else that you get into.
Yeah, I think so. And I think being brave and being able to give yourself time to learn is good. I think the main thing that stops people is they feel like they have to be an expert day one.
Oh, for sure.
And same thing with like your finances or your 401k. Like you're never probably going to know everything there is to know, but like you can definitely improve as you go along and constant improvement. So,
well, if that held people back from, getting their first, gig or whatever, I mean, I get that. But at the same time, I think all you got to do is just know enough to create something that works.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Because most people don't understand websites. So if you can actually make something look good, better than that person could have done, then yeah. So I look back and go, I probably would have hired somebody in the beginning, but I wouldn't feel as nearly as comfortable now.
Yeah.
From what I learned.
And it's amazing to me, people that graduate Coder Foundry, it's like, you know more than, I would say, 95% of the people on the face of planet Earth know more about coding than just about everybody. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. And it's just that imposter syndrome kicks in so hard that that fear of failure just keeps you from doing stuff, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could have, so I'm proud of you for jumping in there. That's kind of cool.
Definitely.
It's kind of neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, cool. Well, Jonathan, we thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And good luck with the book there, thefocusbook.com. And then everyone go look at his website. And one thing you can know is like there's 1,000 people out there that need websites built. So if you want to get a side hustle on, I think building WordPress sites for people is a great way to do it. So
yep,
anyway.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for inspiring us today, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. See you.
All right. Bye. See you.
That was cool.
That's very cool. I think you hit the nail on the head too. I think it's like there's customers just dying for people to make stuff for them.
Yes.
You just gotta go find them.
I've got an email right now. I just typed in this morning where I turned a guy down from doing something. I just know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, I just know that there's a lot of work out there to be had, and you just gotta be brave enough to get a side hustle going.
Yep.
But let's talk about imposter syndrome. What about 3 ways that I think we could stop that, to keep that going?
Okay.
So what do you think about this? What about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the things about like imposter syndrome is you feel like you haven't arrived yet. And you look around in the room and you think, I'm not as smart as Kevin, or I'm not as smart as John, therefore I can't do this.
Right.
And you assume that those other people never struggle with anything.
Right.
Yeah,
not true.
Right. And so people don't know that I spent Saturday doing some JavaScript, struggling with something, like they don't know that. All they see is the end result when I give a tutorial out. They don't know how much time I spent on making something happen, or making it work. Or as we're in project development, like we're doing something with GPS geofences right now, and I'm watching the guys on a skateboard out front skating back and forth trying to break a geofence.
Okay, that's funny. Were they really doing that? That's great.
Yes, they really are. So like, so like you can tell that they'll come out shaking their head. Oh, it's not working quite right yet. So like, that's the process that we all go through. But if we let our fears stop us, and let imposter syndrome kick in, we'll never get a job. We won't apply. So
we have to embrace it. We have to embrace that we're never going to know everything. Yeah. And being uncomfortable is the normal. It's okay you have to acknowledge imposter syndrome. It's okay that you're going to have it. And once you acknowledge it and realize that you're never going to know everything, you can be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, we have so many students coming in that think they have to know all of .NET to get a job. And
do you know all of .NET?
No, heck no, man. Nah, no way. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of guys at Microsoft that know it, but like, but in general, all of us that program for a living don't know everything there is to know about everything, every topic.
Right.
The ability to like know what you want to do and then research that and then turn that into code is the job of a coder.
Right.
No one is typing in a new product from the beginning, from scratch, from complete memory. Right. They're not doing it, man. I don't care who they are. There may be some rock stars out there that can do those kind of things that never Google anything, but I haven't met them yet. So like I would say that 90%, or I would say 99% of people Google professionally for a living. We're on Stack Overflow. We're on MSDN documentation. We're on the React.js library. We're watching YouTube videos. We're watching everything to get our information to build our thing.
It's like we've talked about this before from my perspective too. So from a designer perspective,
I
I joke about not remembering hex codes, but I remember the hex code because it's Code of Foundry orange.
Yeah.
But I joke about, ask me to name another one of the Code of Foundry colors. I don't know the hex code.
I know we have that.
I have no idea what it is.
Yeah,
but I don't know what the hex code is.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know why? Because I have a cheat sheet. I have a cheat sheet that tells me those colors, and I have them in Photoshop. I have a palette in Photoshop. I use my tools. Remembering them will be a total waste of time. It would be total waste of my brain power to remember 20 different hex colors for our entire color palette. Right. Useless. Totally useless. It'd be pointless. Same way with coding. You don't have to remember every method of every object. Like, what's the point in that?
No, there's no point. Yeah, And then I try to encourage Code of Foundry students all the time. Like, man, if you can build the 3 projects we put together, and you don't understand everything there is to know about them, you're still good enough to get a job. And then, like, we have so many people that won't even try. I just don't understand that mindset. And so that's why I want to talk about imposter syndrome is do not let this stop you. And then, and a lot of times, man, I'll interview students back to back to back to back. And they'll all say, you know, Frank's smarter than me. Amy's smarter than me. I can't do this. And then I'll go interview Amy. Amy says, you know, John's smarter than me. Frank's smarter than me. I can't do this. You know, and I want to put them all together in the room at the same time. Like, y'all all think that all of y'all are better than everyone else. And so, like, and therefore you won't try. But I try to convince them that it's really not about the person beside you. It's really about you and what you bring to the table. And that's where you need to think. Like, focus on what you know and not what you don't know. You know, I mean, like, don't walk into an interview and say, you know, I don't really understand anything, you know, but I built these 3 projects, but, you know, I'm kind of stupid. You know, don't do that.
You highlight what you do know. That's
focus
exactly
on what you
the
knew.
point. Yeah.
Because if you focus on what you know, it's enough to get a job. It really is.
It can be incredibly impressive when you show somebody all the stuff that you do know. Nobody ever talks about the stuff that they don't know. It just doesn't happen. You don't go to, like, I'm sure there's something on a guitar that Eddie Van Halen can't play, right? But he's never going to tell you that he can't play it. He's going to play the impressive stuff that he does know how to play. Yeah, that's how you that's it. Because you're never going to know everything about everything.
And there's always be more to learn. So that's when we see people frozen in tutorial land, frozen when they're looking at, like, this language, that language, that language, this language, and they want to pick the perfect one, the one that's the coolest. And then when we say pick .NET, they're like, no, but, like, all these other people are doing stuff. And we keep telling them, like, dude, just focus in on this little box, do that box, get a job, and then expand out what you know, what you don't know. Don't try to do that all up front. Yeah,
definitely. So Glenn says, I think everyone suffers from self-doubt. True, it should be ignored, and we should keep moving. We're never going to know everything, but we can figure most things out. And there you go. It's very true. Bring that attitude to class, Glenn. 100%.
Yeah, because I'm going to try to convince you, Glenn, that you know more than you think. So trust me.
Because you will have a point. I guarantee it. A couple weeks in, where you're like, okay, I retract that statement. I can't do this. It's difficult. Yeah, I don't know anything. We'll screenshot this right here. We'll pull this over and be like, you remember when you said this? You just need to go back to that way of thinking.
Yeah. So I think we also suffer from we don't have a growth mindset. We feel like we need to know everything. And then when we know everything, we can do the job. And we don't really focus in on, like, what do I know today and how do I continue to grow going forward? And so, like, you need a growth mindset. I think it's actually very intelligent when you come into a room and you realize I don't know everything. I think the dumbest people I ever meet are the ones that think they know everything. Yeah. And I've always said, once you think you know everything, you become stupid.
Yes. Well, we've labeled these in one of our other videos, the smartest person in the room, the spitter. Thank you, Hashim, for the awesome name there. But yes, the spitter. Yeah, that's not a good position to be in.
Yeah. So your intelligence isn't this thing that just stays in one particular place. It's built on the challenges that you face, your growth that you face, the things that you do. And I would bet that the things that I have in my short-term memory right now shift. Like,
Oh,
working
definitely,
on
100%.
like there'll be a lot of things I know about JavaScript, but then I may move on to Blazor next month, and then someone may ask me, "Hey, what's pop do in JavaScript?" I'm like, "Let me Google that real quick."
Exactly. Yeah, because you know that it's useless to remember it. Really,
yeah, exactly.
You may have this one thing where there's some stuff you will remember.
Yeah.
For sure, because you'll have used it a lot, or it'll just stick with you for some other reason. But there's stuff you do need to have a rotating short-term memory.
Yeah.
Of stuff that you just need to be able to recall.
Yeah, and I like this.
And some stuff you can move out.
Tech said, read that. I think this is brilliant.
Yeah, the cure to imposter syndrome. Stop comparing yourself to others. Yep, that's exactly what we were saying. Focus on yourself. We're all on the journey. Still working on this. It's not supposed to be easy. That's it.
It's not, man. So, and I think that's something that we can all do. The other thing that I do routinely in Coder Foundry is keep track of your accomplishments. And then I always so remember in week 1 when you were struggling with Bootstrap?
Yep.
You know, and you're in week 7, and now look, you've built a portfolio, a blog site, you have a bug tracker. You couldn't do any of this before you got here, and now you're doing it, even though you feel like you don't understand everything where you're at the moment. And the other thing that I always tell people is like, you know, this is a journey. It's not an event. Learning to code is not an event. It's not something that can just happen on a Saturday afternoon. Right. It is a journey. And I would think that once you enter in this profession, it's a lifelong journey. Like you're always going to be trying to learn something new.
Yeah. Well, you're always learning something new.
Yeah.
I'll come in all the time and be like, oh, I did this today. I'll be like, wow.
Okay. Over the weekend, in a weird way, you work on a website and I was working on a video. So like, what's going on here? You know, like, what are we doing? You know, why are you working on the website? And
but that's why it's like, we both find that kind of stuff interesting. I'm learning something new. You're learning something new. Yeah. Always learning, always.
Okay. So we have actual questions.
Let's see here.
What is DevOps?
Okay.
Yeah, so Fury Pop, DevOps is a big term that covers lots of things, but in general, basically you can promote your code, and this is what I think DevOps is. It may be more than that too. You promote your code from development to production, and DevOps or Dev operations, one of those things that it can do is migrate your code from these different environments, from development to QA to production. You can also, in that DevOps too, you can also do profiling to see kind of like how stuff is performing. But they're talking about building and promoting code is a lot of what goes on, and then profiling is the other thing that goes on. There's probably, it's a broad term too, but in general, that's kind of how I think about it. So
interesting. I don't know if you know. I don't know the full history of this.
Yeah, I watched.
Yes, think Zuckerberg.
That's
that's about as much as I know. That's my frame of reference for this too. I don't really know did he do it all? Like,
I would say that he coded the beginning, or at least V1.
Well, don't forget, he wasn't. Well, I'm thinking like he wasn't the first social network, right? No. So my guess is he probably borrowed at least some ideas from other places.
Ideas, sure, yeah.
He certainly borrowed ideas from MySpace and those kind of things that came before him, for sure. It wasn't an original idea. But as far as the code goes, I don't know. I think he was.
Yeah, I would imagine that he worked on V1. Right? I do know that even 5 years into Facebook, Zuckerberg was still writing things on Facebook, and now they have 40,000 employees. So like, I doubt he codes as much anymore, if at all. But I do know that he was a developer from the get-go, from the beginning. So I think that's good. So
there you go. Wilfredo said he had a developer tell someone that they're not a real developer because they Google everything.
Okay. That's funny.
I don't know what the logic is behind that.
That's just a guy.
Because you just don't remember it.
So
grumpy coder guy.
Part of what, these coder guys do is they try to push other people down and lift their own profile up. And so like, if that guy is not Googling at all, then he has a fixed mindset. Whatever he knows right now is what he knows.
Yeah.
Now he's
never going to learn anything.
He could learn something through experimentation, but like in general, .NET 5 comes out and you're telling me you're not looking at documentation? Come on, man. You just know it instantly. You do it all through IntelliSense. Okay.
Yeah.
So he has what I would say, Wilfredo, is he has a fixed mindset. Your mindset needs to be focused on growth. How can I increase my knowledge? But I don't need to be an expert in order to get my first job. That's the thing that has to go out of your head. that you can work at a job as a developer and not know everything. It's okay. You know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Adam summed it up nicely. That person can safely be ignored.
Yeah, unless they're writing your paychecks, but you know.
That's true too. There you go. We're going to answer this question. Kadir, thanks for joining us. I haven't seen you here before, so cool.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. What coding language should I learn in 2020? Interesting being a software developer. We talk about this quite a lot.
Ton. .NET. So
We'll just leave it
ASP.NET,
at
C Sharp. Just build websites, full stack web dev, .NET, C Sharp. I think he said he also knows Python.
Okay, there you go. So this comes back to, we talk about this a lot too.
Yeah.
You already know something.
Right.
Start there.
Start there. So like if you're gonna use Python, you're gonna be entering into the world of data science. And so that you need to build a portfolio based around data science if that's what you know how to do. If you want to build full stack web development, then you need to pick a different stack. We think .NET is definitely focused right there to be the best one to pick from. If you're going to pick mobile, cross-platform mobile development, you got to pick something between the 3 predominant platforms right now, which is Flutter, React, or Xamarin, which is C Sharp. So pick on what you want to build and then pick your stack on what language you want to know. So,
and this question sort of comes to that too. Can you help me what to do when you get stuck in between programming languages? And we talk about picking the job first too. That's
pick the job first.
That we've talked about.
Yeah.
So make sure that it aligns to wherever you want to, you want to end up.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
our role, our job is like, there's a lot of people out there that are lifelong learners, and I get that. And they're just learning it, just like I always call it the cooking class. They're just learning new things, and they're always doing that. And what we're really focused on is your career. Like, how can you get a job? How can you make money as a programmer? And so like, you need to set goals. And then I think goals also reduce your self-doubt. And so the goal can't be, I need to know 9 languages before I work professionally. That's not a goal. That's folly. I think you need to say, I need to learn how to build websites, and then I'm going to get a job as a website builder. And then once you reach that goal, always, always, always take time to look back at your journey and not always looking forward. A lot of times you can look back and say, look how far I've come. You know, it's when you're climbing the mountain, sometimes you need to stop and just look and see how far you've gotten. And then you can turn around and face that future with more, say, I got this far, I know I can get further and I can do more. And I think that's the thing that you can get imposter syndrome out of your head.
Right. Yep. Here's a question we get quite a bit too. Yeah. Dushyant, thanks for the question. How to get a job as a fresher, because most jobs require people with experience.
Yeah. So I wrote this book, Breaking the Code. And one of the things in there, Breaking the Code, is talking about like how you get a job. How do you break into your first software job? And most of that evolves around having a really good portfolio to show someone. So if you don't have any experience, then build a project and show it to somebody, and that'll like overcome your experience, hopefully. And keep doing that. Keep building projects. Keep showing them to hires. Keep applying until you break in. But if you apply once and get turned down, don't quit there. You only need 1 yes, and so that may involve like 100 applications, 100 interviews.
Right.
You got to be willing to go for it for the long term.
Okay.
But yeah, I would pick the job. Pick the job first. It's so important. Like, pick the job. Like, I want to build X, whatever that is, website, mobile, desktop, game, whatever that is. I want to build that, and then allow that to drive your learning, and not the other way around, where I'm just learning random language, but I'm really not focused toward a goal or an end output.
Let me see here. What was this friend say here? Unfortunately, coders can be very toxic. This is true. Some can, especially when they feel as though they figured everything out. It's important to not let these people control your feelings. Yeah, we talk a lot about grumpy coder guy and that sort of.
Yeah, don't let them do that, man. Like, just know that if you are an information sharer and you're sharing information around, and not this grumpy coder guy that pushes everyone down, you'll leap grumpy coder person. I guarantee it. You'll leap them over because they're just going to be surrounded by themselves. And so like, it's better to be nice to people, and not be that person that pushes the other one down.
Yep. Is Ruby on Rails a good language? Subjective question.
It's subjective.
I'm going to take that question is Ruby on Rails worth learning in 2020?
I think there's less jobs for Rails jobs than there are .NET jobs. Period.
I think we've seen that a lot. We saw somebody who went to a Rails boot camp who then came to our boot camp because they couldn't get a job in Rails.
Yeah. So it's just the way it is. And you can, and I don't even think that's really a hot take. I mean, can you build anything with Rails that you could build with .NET? Probably. How many people will hire you because you know Rails? That's the question. And more people will hire you if you know .NET. So kind of cool.
Okay, Code Looper, thank you for the question. We appreciate it. And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
They have a work gap. Used to work as a desktop developer, VB and C# up until 2011. Changed careers, and now want to get back to development, but web dev. How to deal with a 9-year gap. I'm guessing changed careers meaning you didn't not work for 9 years, you just did something else for 9 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is a slightly different question.
So again, build a portfolio and show that portfolio that you know what you're doing. We've had people that went to prison, man. Like, like that have been out for 5 years and they're like, where were you for the last 5 years? Well, I was on vacation in Riker Island. You know what I mean? Like, so like,
doing a different job for 9 years is not the worst thing.
No, just explain it just like that. I changed my career and now I'm trying to get back in development. So what I have now is this portfolio, and I'm just going to show you stuff I've built over the last, 3 months or 4 months. And I'd like to get back in development because that's really where I was most happy. So
we've certainly had people come to Coder Foundry who have done development way before 2011. We're talking about in the 90s was the last time they did some kind of development in COBOL and older languages even. So you have VB and C# even. That's definitely more modern.
Build a website and show it.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's what I would do. So that's what I would do. All right.
Yeah, you definitely have a leg up there. You have a good shot. Your experience will actually go well for you too. It'll make it easier to learn this new stuff.
Cool.
Let me see here. Here you go. I find myself easily able to Google things, but pulling from memory to be difficult. How do I handle coding interviews where I might not remember all the syntax / libraries available to me?
So like we talk about this a lot in the book too. We also talk about this with Coder Foundry. So here's what you need to do. So let's say that you're interviewing C# jobs or you're interviewing Java jobs. I don't know what you're interviewing for. Look up just Google this, the top 20 programming questions in C#, for example. Take those first 5 questions that come up, the top 5, and relate them to a project that you've built. And so I'm going to give you the super secret Coder Foundry thing that we tell every single student coming in here, or at least when I'm interviewing, teach them to interview. And so like if I ask MVC question, I say, hey, Frankie, what is MVC? And you'll tell me, oh, that stands for Model View Controller. That's a architectural design pattern people use to build websites. Model is the shape of the data, views how you see it, and controller accepts requests and kind of shapes the data for us. And then you use this keyword. For example, I built a website. And that code word that you can put in your brain can bring up the things stored in your long-term memory, bring them to short-term, and be able to discuss them at a detailed level.
And that's all you have to remember. You have to remember to use for example.
And then ask them to look at it. Third, after you said, and I built this website, it does A, B, and C. Would you mind if I show that to you? I've got the code right here on my laptop, and that's how what we call take control of an interview. And inside of Coder Foundry, we train people that way on a weekly basis so that they can get that ingrained in their brain. But pulling from memory is difficult because we don't code from memory. No one does. Some of the stuff you do, but a lot of times, you're looking up stuff. I'm not saying I look up an if-then statement for how to do that in JavaScript now anymore, because I do that so many times. I have that committed to memory, but I may need to look at C# multi-threading or something like that if I'm doing that, and look up to see what's going on there or something like that. So I don't know everything. Yeah.
Here you go. That's a good question. Shubham, I am trying very hard to learn C#.
Okay.
And I guess just visiting or just using tutorials, but I'm able to implement in real projects.
Okay.
So please, suggestions.
So Google this, MVC movie, .NET Core MVC movie.
We've talked about this a few different times.
Build that, follow the tutorial from point A to point B, start over with something that's not movies and build it on a new kind of function. So instead of making MVC movie, make MVC shopping list or something else, something different, and change the business requirements, and then use that tutorial to build that new project, and then you have a new project.
Yep. Basically take a tutorial, repurpose it, and build something else with it. Not only do you get a different project out of it, you also get to reinforce your learning.
Yeah. But don't do MVC movie and then show that at an interview.
Yeah.
Because if you're at a .NET shop, they more than likely have seen that. And so then it looks like you just copied something. You don't know what you're doing. But if you take MVC movie tutorial and then change the business part of it, change the purpose of the project, then you have a new work. And then suddenly people will take you more seriously. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. Here you go. David said that Facebook wasn't built 100% scratch.
Okay.
So he said it himself that he used a template for data and adapted it himself. That's what I would have expected. That's totally what I would have expected.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, I guess like he didn't start with like, Notepad and the blinking cursor.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
What I was saying was I think he was the coder that kind of built all the initial version of Facebook.
Yeah. I think this is pretty much what we're saying.
Yeah. So David's right on. Yeah.
He wants to know how the weather is. Do you want to talk about the weather at the beginning? Did you not mention the weather?
No, but it's beautiful here, man. It is beautiful. It is 70 and blue skies, man.
Yep. Perfect day for me. I can actually go outside and not get sunburned because, I have that horrible sunburn complexion. Here you go. Wilfredo, that's his problem. One day I learn JavaScript, the next day I'm learning C#. Need to focus on one.
Build a website, full stack web dev. Build your front end in JavaScript, your back end in C#, and you'll have to know both of them. JavaScript is essential if you're building websites. You have to know it. And then to do your database access and kind of your back end logic, you will be using C# and controllers or web APIs or something like that. So that's what you want to do. If you're building desktop apps, you don't need to know JavaScript. You're just going to know C#. If you're building mobile and you're in Xamarin, you just need to know C#. You don't need to know JavaScript. So it depends on what you're trying to learn and focus on what you're trying to build. And that'll focus in on your learning. So.
Here you go. Here's a question for you. How did you all start coding and what languages did you learn first?
It doesn't even matter, but like I was in college and we learned COBOL, and that was in the late 80s. And then I went to a different college and changed my major and learned risk management, insurance, and finance. And then on my first job out, someone asked me to convert a Fox Pro system, and I did it through books. And from there, I learned Fox Pro, I learned Power Builder, I learned VB6. Then I learned VB.NET. Then I learned C#. I learned JavaScript. And that's the stuff I remember off the top of my head.
Just a lot of stuff.
But everything that I did was focused around building something. How do I build this? And what do I need to know to build it? And if you focus on that, you'll get out of this tutorial prison, which I think is like where you're just taking tutorials and you're not really focusing on building anything. And then you're learning, you've looked at 8 languages, and everyone's trying to figure out what's the #1 best language to learn. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Pick one that will get you a job. That is
such a common question.
Yeah, pick one that will get you a job. C# will get you a job. And that's what we're saying. And I know that you can pick the hottest new thing, and that's probably the mistake when you're just starting out. The hot new thing is for people that have been doing it for a minute.
Right.
If you haven't worked as a dev ever, then learning Dino or whatever the thing's called is a waste of time at this point.
Which
maybe 3 years from now it's the thing to know, or maybe 2 years from now it's the thing to know. But today, right now, that's not the thing that you need to know. You need to know something that's mainstream, that's in production, that you can get a job with. I hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, definitely. David's asking me if I changed my poster. It's been changed for a while, David. That's my Mondo Back to the Future one.
It is, yeah.
It is. So here's what's cool about my Mondo Back to the Future one. I think it's 350 or 400 of those were printed. I got edition 88. I got 88, so the 88 miles an hour, and I'm like, yes, it's such a good number to get.
Okay.
I was super excited when it came. So yes, I did change my poster. Let's see. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so let's do another. Let's do one more here.
One more question, and we'll get out of here.
Do one more question, then we'll
and then let's just. We have a guest tomorrow. We have a super cool guest tomorrow. We'll talk about that.
Oh, we do. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Stephen Kent's coming tomorrow. Stephen Kent is a huge guy in. He's been on national TV, national radio. Has a podcast called Bantha Fodder. He's a Star Wars guy. He relates it to politics. We're going to talk just generally about Star Wars. So we're going to have a Star Wars thing. And it's going to be super interesting. I don't know how much tech we'll talk about tomorrow, but talking with Stephen Kent is it should be a very fun, enlightening time that talks about like how Star Wars influences our culture and how it influences yourself. And like,
it's interesting. It's deeper than you think.
It's way deeper than you think. And it's be highly entertaining. And then we're going to talk about like, I like the movie Solo. And what does that say about me as a person?
Right.
Like,
and let's leave that there.
Let's just leave it there.
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
And so like, please don't unsubscribe to me because I like the movie Solo. Yeah, but because we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So
here you go. Bilal's already starting the thing here. Like, doesn't consider new movies as canon.
Exactly.
Like, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow.
To come here tomorrow to get this guy's take on it. Like, so he's interviewed a who's who of everybody in the U.S. He's been on every major channel, every major interview platform, and he's relating Star Wars to a lot of things. And it's very, very fascinating about like his whole take on this. So Stephen Kent tomorrow at noon.
Yep, it's going to be good. And there's a bumper for tomorrow that you made. So
I made a bumper for tomorrow.
So this is what we were doing at the weekend. I was coding up a website while we was making a bumper for Tuesday. So and it's cool. It's cool. Special Star Wars edition.
Star Wars edition bumper for tomorrow. So if anything, show up for the first 45 seconds.
That's funny. Let me do one thing because we were just literally talking about something related to this. So let me do a meme. Hold on one second.
Okay, meme.
Then we'll finish up. We were literally just talking about learning the latest JavaScript thing, and I really like this meme that hit the nail on the head with this.
Okay. I haven't.
So this is exactly what we were talking about. So there's it, and there's new frameworks down here, and all the JavaScript developers are just jumping on in.
They're just jumping down there.
It's not just JavaScript; it's everybody. But it's fun to make fun of certain kinds of developers, I guess. So I thought that was a good one. So that's today's meme.
All right, that's kind of cool.
Okay, let's wrap up here. A couple things. If you guys have not already joined Discord, go join Discord. If Adam could put the link in chat, that'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it to join.
Yeah, join Discord because what we're going to announce will be integrated with Discord.
Yeah, we're going to integrate what we're doing next week with Discord and probably the week after too. We're going to do a couple different things.
Right.
We're working with a couple different partners. So yeah, we're going to do a couple things on Discord. So if you go over there, that's sort of how you can interact with us on it when we're not live here. What else do I have here? Let's see. If this is your first time here, you can find us online. You can go to coderfoundry.com/job roadmap, and you can sign up there for our 5 steps to become a developer. If you're interested in the class, you can go to coderfoundry.com/virtual. We just started sending out acceptance for this today. I think it was today, right? I think Natasha said today. So today. So we do still have some open slots.
You need to get in this week.
Filled yet, but
we do cut
we're
it off.
a month away.
Yeah, don't apply on July 4th thinking that you're going to get in.
Yeah,
so if you think you're going to apply, do that this week so that you can. So we have time to process your app and do all the steps that you need to do to get admitted. So many people want to apply on the Friday before the Monday start.
Yeah.
And
there's some admin we have to do before then. So
we just have to do some stuff and make sure it's a good fit for you and us.
Yep.
And so there's an interview, there's some coding challenges you got to get through. So there's several steps that you got to go through to get admitted. So,
and as Bobby said last week, we are now taking international students too.
Yeah. So if you're
certain criteria you got to fill.
Yeah. If you're overseas, call in and we'll see what we can do. So it should be kind of cool.
Yep.
We'll be announcing our virtual open house coming up soon. We'll have that, and then you can actually attend and talk to me, the staff, specifically about the school, and that's a different private link that you can go talk to.
Yep, so we're going to set that up for, I think, next week. Isn't that next week? Next week. Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be cool. There you go. Adam put down the link down there in chat, too, so you guys can, if you haven't joined Discord already, you can go do that.
Yeah, so that's right. And then Maverick, that's what we're talking about, Maverick. If you're international, you can attend. You can.
Yes.
So all you have to do is apply. Depending on your country of origin, there are some restrictions that apply, but like in general, just apply now. It doesn't cost you anything to apply, and then we can work with you to see if that's your choice.
Just speak to admissions, and then we can go from there. If it's not a good fit, we can figure it out.
Right.
But,
if you're in India, you just know there's a 12-hour or 13-hour difference between here and there. Our classes are live, so you have to. That's if you're over on the other side of the world, it may not be a fit, but you might work third shift or something like that to do it.
Alex, you missed everything. Sorry,
man. We talked about 401ks.
If we're literally just going to sign off, but that's cool. Esteban's excited for tomorrow. We'll try and come up with a new tease for you for tomorrow, Esteban.
Yeah, so like it's going to be huge though. Hopefully you'll participate in our thing that we got coming up.
Yep.
Should be good.
Yep, it does require participation.
See you tomorrow. Star Wars special tomorrow. Good luck and keep coding, guys.
See you guys tomorrow.